The spores of retribution. It's strange how silence can feel like a scream, how it can echo through the halls of memory like a warning siren. My family's living room had once been a sanctuary. Now it felt like a mausoleum, the air thick with the scent of old coffee and the weight of unspoken words. I stood in the very center of it, a place that had once oozed with laughter, now dripping with tension as I prepared to reveal what I had become. "Look who's back!" My sister sneered, her eyes narrowing. "The spore-chaser, what's it this time? Some new ghost story?" The irony dripped from her voice, heavier than the oppressive silence. I could feel their judgment, could see it etched into the lines of their faces, lines I had once known so well, lines that had twisted and hardened with years spent enduring the ridicule I'd suffered for my obsession. Years ago, I had been the family disgrace, my life reduced to a punchline. "You're wasting your time!" They'd howl, their laughter ricocheting off the walls. "You'll end up alone in some damp hole, talking to mushrooms." I had indeed spent my nights in damp places, but I was no longer talking to just any mushrooms. I was conversing with the very essence of nature's darkest secrets, the sentience lurking beneath the soil, waiting to be unearthed. My heart raced as I took a deep breath, clutching the small vial in my hand, its contents shimmering ominously. "You've mocked me for years," I began, my voice tremulous and raw. "But what I found out there, it's no joke. These aren't just mushrooms. They're living, thinking entities. They can control minds. They can—" "Please, just stop," my mother interrupted, her face pale. "You're scaring us. This nonsense needs to end." Nonsense. That word, once a dagger to my heart, now felt like a shield. I was no longer a victim of their mockery. I was a bearer of truths they couldn't ignore. I had seen horrors that twisted the very fabric of reality, and the knowledge brought with it an unsettling clarity, one that could either save them or doom them. "Fine," I said, my voice steely. "You think I'm delusional? Let me show you what I have discovered." I uncorked the vial, releasing a pungent, almost sweet scent into the air. The aroma twisted through the room like something alive, curling around the furniture, slipping into their lungs. "What are you doing?" my sister shrieked, stepping back, but it was too late. The spores released their power, filling the space with a shimmering haze that shifted and swirled, coiling around us like a living thing. I watched as my family's expressions morphed from disdain to horror. They clutched their heads, as if the air itself was a vice squeezing their minds. "Do you feel that?" I whispered, my voice barely audible over the rising chaos. "They're here. They've always been here." Moments later, the walls began to pulse as if breathing. Shadows lengthened, stretching toward my family, whispering promises wrapped in dread. I could see the realization dawning on them, the horror of their disbelief crashing down in waves. The spore's psychic tendrils reached into their thoughts, dragging forth memories of disbelief and ridicule that clawed at their sanity. "What have you done?" my mother cried, scrambling against the wall. Her expression transformed from anger to terror, and I saw the flicker of understanding in her eyes. They had laughed at me, called me insane, but here I was, a harbinger of the very darkness they refused to acknowledge. "Maybe you should have listened," I said, the weight of my words heavy with cold vindication. "You thought I was the joke. Turns out you were all just the punchline." The shadows thickened around us, and I could see my sister, her eyes wide with fear as she searched for an escape that didn't exist. "Help us," she gasped, her bravado crumbling like ash. "Please." "Help you?" I echoed, the bitterness rising in my throat. "For years you mocked my passion, called it insanity. I'm not the one who needs saving." They were engulfed in the darkness now, their screams mingling with the echoes of denial reverberating through the room. I stood, paralyzed, watching as the very essence of what I had hunted for years spiraled around them, claiming my family one fragile mind at a time. "Mom! Don't let them in!" My sister's voice shattered, a plea drenched in terror. But it was too late. The sentient spores had woven their way into the fabric of our home, turning laughter into chaos, disbelief into horror. And then it happened. The shadows coalesced, revealing forms twisted and grotesque, the very manifestations of the entities I had once studied and feared. My family, in their disbelief, had unwittingly invited the darkness into their own lives. "Now you know," I said softly, almost regretfully, as the final shreds of sanity slipped away from their grasp. "You thought my obsession was a farce, but the very thing you laughed at is what you've become a part of." As the last echoes of their screams faded, I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me. The shadows settled, wrapping around me like old friends. I had survived the horrors they couldn't face, borne witness to the unspeakable, and now I was no longer the disgrace. I was a keeper of secrets, a guardian of the truth that they had turned away from. And as I walked out of that house, the door creaking ominously behind me, I carried with me the chilling reminder that belief is a fragile thing, and sometimes the cost of disbelief is the greatest horror of all.